Today, we're going to dig into an institution that was basically born from a massive anti-corruption movement. It was hailed as the silver bullet against graft in India, the Lokpal. Now, why should you care? Well, because the health of any democracy really depends on its ability to hold the powerful accountable. And the Lokpal, it was designed to be the ultimate watchdog. But a decade later, it kind of feels like that watchdog is on a very, very short leash. So this is the central puzzle we're going to try and piece together today. How can an institution, designed from the ground up to be incredibly powerful and independent, be struggling just to get off the ground? What's holding it back? And, what does that really mean for the fight against corruption in India? Let's get into it. Okay, so let's start with the big idea, the original promise. The Lokpal was meant to be the definitive answer to corruption at the highest levels of government. Now, these words on the screen are super important. They're not just jargon, they are the literal pillars of its power. Statutory means it isn't just another government department that can be shut down on a whim. Nope, it's backed by a law passed by Parliament. Autonomous is huge, because it's supposed to be completely free from political meddling, which is an absolute must, right? And sui generis, that's just a fancy way of saying one of a kind. It tells you this isn't just another commission, it's a specially designed weapon for a massive challenge. So how is this thing actually designed to work? You gotta remember, this blueprint wasn't just dreamed up in an office somewhere. It was forged in the fire of a nationwide movement demanding a truly independent watchdog. Let's see how that demand shaped the Lokpal's structure and its powers. The way the Lokpal is composed is actually pretty clever. You have a 50-50 split between judicial and non-judicial members. That's to make sure cases are looked at from all angles, not just the legal stuff, but also from the perspective of public administration, finance, you name it. And the diversity requirement, that's not just for show, it's about building public trust. And that fixed term of 5 years, well, that's its shield. It lets the members do their job without worrying about political pressure. And this is where you see the real muscle behind the Lokpal. Just look at the selection committee. It is literally a who's who of India's leadership. Having the Prime Minister, the Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition, and the Chief Justice all in one room is supposed to guarantee that the selection is fair and not just a political appointment. The whole idea is to pick people with rock-solid integrity, and this high-powered committee is how you're supposed to get there. Now, who exactly can the Lokpal investigate? Well, its reach is huge, and that was intentional. The fact that even the Prime Minister is included, with some exceptions we'll talk about in a sec, was a massive deal. It sent a clear message. Nobody is above the law. By covering everyone from the very top all the way down to the lowest rungs of the bureaucracy, the Lokpal was meant to be a complete top-to-bottom solution for corruption. But that power isn't totally unlimited. There's a balance. These exceptions for the Prime Minister exist to protect the government's ability to function in really sensitive areas. The worry was that the Lokpal could be used as a political weapon to destabilize the government on critical issues. Now, whether that's a necessary safeguard or a convenient loophole, well, that's a whole other debate, but that's the reason it's there. Okay, so we've seen the incredible blueprint, right? A powerful engine designed to fight corruption. But what good is an engine if it has no fuel and no one's in the driver's seat? Now we're going to look at the reality, where this powerful machine has basically been sitting in the garage for a decade, just collecting dust. This gets right to the heart of the problem. The inquiry and prosecution wings are supposed to be the Lokpal's arms and legs. They're how it investigates and how it brings people to justice. Without them, the Lokpal is just a figurehead. It can make statements, but it can't actually do anything. The fact that it took a decade to even start setting these up isn't just a small delay. It's a fundamental failure that has crippled the entire institution from day one. This number might not look like much, but it speaks volumes about the Lokpal's inactivity. When an organization can't even spend the money it's been given, it means it's not working. This isn't about being frugal. It's a sign of a complete failure to launch. Every rupee that went unspent is a complaint that wasn't investigated, a case that wasn't prosecuted, and a corrupt official who wasn't held accountable. So on top of the operational mess, there are some pretty big cracks in the Lokpal Act itself. The fact that it doesn't have constitutional backing is a big deal. Why? It means its powers can be changed or even removed by a simple majority in Parliament. That makes it really vulnerable. Add to that a 7-year time limit on complaints, the judiciary being totally exempt, and no dedicated courts for its cases, and you've basically got a recipe for failure. So yeah, the picture so far is pretty grim. But is the Lokpal a lost cause? Well, maybe not. A parliamentary committee has actually laid out a rescue plan, a roadmap to get this thing working. So let's look at what could finally unleash this watchdog.
The committee's recommendations are basically a dose of common sense and urgency. First and foremost, get those wings up and running. That's non-negotiable. Then, set up a special court so its cases don't just disappear into the judicial system's black hole. And finally, enforce deadlines and go digital to cut through all the red tape. If these steps are taken, they could seriously transform the Lokpal from a paper tiger into a real force.
The committee also gets that corruption isn't what it used to be. We're talking complex financial crimes, cybercrime. It's a whole new ballgame. That's why they recommend hiring experts in things like forensic accounting. The Lokpal needs to be just as smart as the people it's trying to catch. And that last point, engaging with the public, is about making sure people actually know what the Lokpal is and how to use it. So, after all that, what's the verdict? Honestly, the Lokpal is like a state-of-the-art supercar that's been designed, built, and then just left to rust in a garage. The design is amazing, the engine is powerful, but it's never really been allowed on the road. It's a story of huge potential being completely held back by a lack of political will and just plain old bureaucracy. And that leaves us with the big question, doesn't it? The solutions are right there, on the table. The path to a working, effective Lokpal is crystal clear. But is there the political will to actually walk that path? The future of the Lokpal, and really the future of accountability in India, hangs on the answer to that question. And it's a question we all need to keep asking.